Psycho was directed by Alfred Hitchcock and was released in 1960 and is the adaptation of Robert Bloch's novel of the same name. So Psycho tells the story of a secretary named Marion Crane, who is played by Janet Leigh. She steals $40,000 in cash from her employer, and she goes on a run in order to not get into trouble. And she stays at a creepy and sketchy hotel called the Bates Motel, which is run by Norman Bates, who is played by Anthony Perkins. And what Marion doesn't know is this hotel has some dark secrets up his sleeves. Happy Halloween, guys, and I thought it would be appropriate if I celebrated Halloween by reviewing one of the most iconic horror films ever made. And it's one of my all-time favorites. Psycho is one of the most iconic films ever made, not only in the horror genre, but in cinema and pop culture in general. Now, I don't want to sound like the millionth person who has said this, but Psycho is, without a doubt, one of my all-time favorite movies. I could watch it all day and just never get tired of it. Like, it's a classic. There's no question about it. And if it weren't for Psycho, most horror movies that come out nowadays wouldn't exist. Like, it was groundbreaking and revolutionary for its time. The performances are fantastic. And of course, Anthony Perkins gave one of the most iconic performances in cinema history as Norman Bates. Like, this guy is creepy. The second he shows up on screen, he starts out like innocent and nice, and you're just like, okay, I don't know if I should trust you, but at the same time, you may not seem trustworthy. But as the movie goes along, you start to realize that the guy is not who he seems to be when we're first introduced to him. Now, there are so many iconic scenes in Psycho, and most of the scenes in Psycho revolutionized horror cinema forever. And of course, I can't talk about Psycho without talking about the famous shower scene. Shower scene in Psycho has been spoofed so many times throughout the history of pop culture. And it makes sense because it's one of the most famous moments in movie history. And it's ridiculous the amount of countless times it's been spoofed. National Lampoon's Vacation spoofed it the best. It's hilarious. Here's a fact for you. It took Hitchcock 7 days to film the shower scene in Psycho. 7 days. And the scene's not even that long. It's like 45 seconds long. That shows how much of a perfectionist Hitchcock was. And he was a damn good director. And of course, you can't talk about Psycho without talking about the twist at the end. Don't worry, I won't spoil the twist just in case if you have not seen Psycho yet, but I'm sure most people know what happens because it's one of the most famous plot twists in film history. But just in case if you don't know, I'll be vague about it. So, here we go. We all love a good son and mother relationship. We all love our mothers. But Norman's relationship with his mother goes a bit too far. It gets to a point where he gets creepily obsessed with her. And at first, you think the movie's going to introduce you to his mother. And you're like, oh boy, his mother gets revealed. I'm excited to see. And then the twist happens and you're like, what the? It's unfortunate because I knew about the twist way before I saw the movie, so I was like, oh yeah, this part happens. So I wasn't as surprised by it, but when you really start thinking about the twist, it's really disturbing. And I'm really curious to see how people reacted to it when it first came out, because Psycho was one of the first disturbing and messed up horror movies to come out during that time period, because before Psycho came out, horror movies were nothing like it. And Psycho changed the game when it comes to the horror genre. Like I said, it was groundbreaking for its time. But what really makes Psycho still hold up to this day, not only as a horror movie, but a movie in general, is Hitchcock's direction. He directed the crap out of Psycho. It is as perfect as any horror movie can be. Everything. From the suspense, the tension, the music from Bernard Herrmann, perfect soundtrack, the cinematography, the black and white tone of the movie makes it even more creepier and more on your seat. and the performance from Anthony Perkins as Norman Bates. There is no other horror movie like Psycho, and it changed the game when it comes to this genre. I give Psycho an A+. In case you're wondering what my favorite horror movie of all time is, it's The Shining. I love Psycho, but The Shining will always be top tier. So I got 2 questions for you guys. The first one is, if you've seen Psycho, what are your thoughts on it? And the second one is, if you've seen any of Alfred Hitchcock's movies, which one is your favorite? Mine is surprisingly not Psycho. It is Rear Window. I love this movie. I could watch it all day and never get tired of it. If you look up the term classic in the dictionary, this is the picture that pops up next to it. If you have not seen Rear Window, go watch it right now. It is required viewing for anyone who loves films. So anyway, if you want to see more of my videos, just be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more great content.